So, what an absolute disgrace. Saw a post on X. Uh, this dude fucking trying to slag City off, basically saying that it was the first time that we ever gave them the guard of arms.
Them as in Man United, right?
Them as in United, yeah. What? That doesn't make sense.
No.
Make it make sense.
How many opportunities have we had to give them one? Very few.
And we're sitting here, years,
and we won one of them.
And we won one of them.
And what did they do?
I'm pretty fucking sure they ran off the pitch like little bitches and didn't even fucking give us one. So, Hayden United, go do one. Anyways, this is Snobby Boys. This is the Snobby Boys. We're here. Season 2. Let's go. Did it again.
New season.
Still doing the same shit. Still doing the same shit. What's everybody? My name's Colby. That's my homeboy Joe. We're the Snobby Boys. Coming at you live, talking about all things Man City. We have quite an episode for you guys. If you haven't seen the promos, we have a special guest this evening. We'll be introducing him to you guys here in just a second. We're going to go over what we'll be talking about. But before we do, make sure that you hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell for all whatever we're doing anytime pertaining to YouTube. Also, make sure that you follow us on our social medias at SnobbyPod. First, we're going to be talking about. Well, hold on. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm hanging in there, man. Been a long season of footy. Watching Man City and coaching my kiddos, and wrapped up Elliot's season today. So we are officially done with the regular season for both the kiddos. Both are doing some summer league stuff, which is exciting. But we're doing good. We're doing good, man. How are you? What's been going on with you?
Well, a whole lot. Kiddo made his travel team. He got his number. He'll be rocking the Phil Foden this year. Last year he rocked the Julian Alvarez. So he'll be rocking the 4-7 this season. And this is a massive season for me as a parent. Just because this is his first travel. This is the first time out of rec. So I'll be getting to live the same life you get to live now. Which
I'm excited for you, dude. I'm excited.
I'm sure you are. Welcome. I'm sure you are. But all the time, I'm going to be like, dude, what? My Saturday and Sunday mornings that I'm used to typically having.
They gone, bro.
They going now. But on the overall, good. I broke my toe last night, or the night before.
So we're now both recovering from injuries at this point.
Yep.
Pardon the dog. My apologies. Hold on.
Listen, Phoebe.
Elliot just got back from a play date, and Phoebe is now excited to get somebody's home.
Woo! First, before we go too far, I want to send a extra special happy birthday shout out to our number 10, Cudaguero. Forever. Love you, guy. So yeah, we'll be doing a Q&A here with Evan. We'll also be talking about, as we go through, Ederson's new potential replacement. We'll also be talking about a potential new deal for Haaland. Also be throwing in a little bit about Bernie being pulled out, or excuse me, not Bernie, PSG pulling out of the Bernie race. We'll also be covering a little bit about City and Girona. They actually got in to play in the UCL next season, which is awesome. Considering they were going to say no. And big question that I have for this episode is Vinny being tested at Bayern for life after Pep here at City? Hmm.
For a week that didn't have a match, there certainly was a lot of City news that was going on.
Yeah, a lot of shit. But without further ado, we want to introduce you to our homie here from the States, Mr. Evan Deprey from the Citizen Fancast. What's up, bud?
Welcome,
What's going on,
welcome.
guys?
How are you doing this afternoon, evening?
I'm doing wonderful, and how are you guys doing? Minus
You
the
know?
recovering injuries.
Right. It's being old, isn't it? Yeah,
100%.
good. Happy to have you here. Happy to have
Yeah,
you here.
this has been a long time in the making, and I'm glad we finally worked something out here. So,
Absolutely, dude. So first thing we wanted to chat about with you was your kind of football story. You mentioned when we were talking pre-show that you played in high school. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the beautiful game, and then a follow up after that is what led you to your City fandom, man.
yeah, so I'll start at the beginning. I started playing when I was 5 or 6 years old. My parents basically put me in because my brother was in, and I didn't have a lot of friends. So it was to make some friends. Around the age of 10, 11, they kind of were told by as weird as it is, our high school coaches that if I was going to go anywhere, I needed to play club soccer. So got in that whole deal from like 12 to 18 playing club soccer, and was on one of the top rated teams in Wisconsin for from 14 to 18. So that was pretty cool. Winning a lot of games. And then high school wasn't as good, but played there. And then I technically played in college a little bit. It wasn't NCAA sanctioned, but it was a club team because ours didn't have one. We were playing basically D3 competition anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
that. And then as far as my City story, the first professional matches I watched were the 2006 World Cup, and that's kind of was my introduction. My parents didn't have any channels that we got any football on, so next chance was kind of 2008 Euros. Spain dominated that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of latched on to David Silva, David Villa, my favorite players, and then coincidentally, basically, I followed Silva to City circa 2010.
Mm-hmm.
As time went on, I was able to watch him more. But I mean, once he was there, City was my team. You know, learning the players basically through FIFA, and that's kind of how I learned the team until I could watch them consistently. And it's been a ride since. But I'll throw out there that following Silva had nothing to do with the money. As like a 12 to 14-year-old, I had no idea what a financial overtake was.
Exactly. Yeah, at that time, you have no clue about what's going on in that realm. You're just like, hey,
Right.
that player looks awesome. He's really good. I like him, which is typical for your adolescence. You're just looking for guys who you can relate to and look cool. And that's exactly what position did you play growing up?
I was more of a left midfielder. In my more later years, I transitioned more central. I don't have the speed to outrun players on the wing, so central was a more accurate choice for me.
Makes sense.
Which is why you latched on to El Mago then, because he's a lefty and didn't have the most physical of gifts in the world. He was very technical and used his brains. That makes perfect sense why you would have picked up on David as a player that you really enjoyed. He was him and Sergio are what drew me full on into City because of the 2010 World Cup. I really enjoyed watching David Silva play, so I was like, let me follow him. FIFA, huge for American football fans. FIFA's humongous, and getting to know teams over in other countries and getting into the players. So that's a massive get have to do that too. And you see the guys on there and see what they're capable of doing on the video game. We're like, I got to investigate more in real life what these guys are like. So I definitely feel you, man. So you played, and then you started getting into City. What drove you to take your love of this game that we all have just dove headlong into to start up the podcast? What tell us about that journey now that you've shared a little bit about where you came from with the football side.
Yeah, I mean, the love for City was always there, and that's I mentioned this to you guys before. It was kind of 2018. I started out, did some episodes while I was in college. I actually got bullied a lot by Liverpool fans. They're like, "Oh, you're starting a podcast just because they're winning," and I was like, "You got to start at some point." Like, I didn't. But
don't be a wanker.
Right. Between getting bullied by opposing fans and just running out of time in college, I was like, all right, probably not the right time for me. And then I kind of just was like, I have a lot of time. I have a ton of City knowledge. I've played. I feel like playing at a higher level makes me understand the game in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just my ego. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But like, I was like, I got to share this. I want to share this with somebody. If 5 people out there want to listen to me, great. And you know what? If it's 5 or 500, I don't care. I feel like I have a unique perspective of knowledge and I want to share it.
Sure.
And, beyond that, I don't have a lot of friends that follow football. My brother does, but, he's a Chelsea fan. So it is what it is. And he's pretty busy too.
That's better than somebody else, other teams he could have picked.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
It could be any one of the red ones, so I'm glad it's at least Chelsea. I don't have as pure of a hatred for them.
Yep.
But yeah, it's he's pretty busy, and he's a teacher. He coaches high school as well, so he doesn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a ton of people to talk to. My wife tried to keep up, and I was like, instead of annoying her with all this, and she's actually had suggested as well, like, why don't you just do a podcast? And I was like, if that's not as much of an invitation to leave her alone and go talk to other people about it, then I don't know what is.
Shout out to the wifey for pushing you to get into this, man. That's awesome.
Evan understood the assignment.
Right.
Yes. Well, and kudos to you for reading between the lines. And not often are they like that upfront and clear of what they want you to do. So oftentimes it's more of a subtle, like, hey, you should do, try to get you to figure it out on your own. But she was like, yo, go do a podcast and leave me alone. Right. Yes, ma'am. I got you. That's fantastic.
I'll give a shout out to her. She's great. She listens to all my episodes, critiques me on them, and tells me what to do better. So if you've been listening to my podcast from the beginning, if I've improved, it's probably because of her.
Man,
you give your credit to her. That's awesome. Yeah. All right, hold on. I'm trying to I was looking for a hand clap. There we go. Listen, bro. Listen, George. You've had an invitation to the other side all season.
Standing invite, bro.
5XL is available, and you still ain't done it either. Just saying.
So we got a little bit of your backstory and how you got started. Let's do more current events for a few minutes, and talk about a little bit of the rumor mill that Colby mentioned at the start of the episode. What's your take on Eddie? Is he leaving? Does he want to go? And if so, who are we bringing in to replace that? Because Ortega is great, but you can't just have one. We've made it pretty clear this past year we need to have 2 guys who are capable. So let us know how you're feeling, man. What's going on with Ederson?
I hope on everything that he stays. I mean, since he came, he's been one of my favorites. I mean, I have a soft spot for him. I feel like I've always had more of a soft spot for him than other people. I think last year he really stepped his game up as far as shot stopping. For me, there's no one distribution wise that competes with him. as great as Ortega is, you see the difference when they're both out there. And some keepers are better at other things than each other, plain and simple. But I'm hoping it's just his agent playing games, trying to get a higher contract. I don't see why he would leave. I mean, generational money from Saudi speaks a lot. I'll say that if that's where he was to go. It's just it feels like he's made City a home. It doesn't seem like he's ever been really upset with his situation at City, except for being subbed out in that Spurs match, which, learning after why he was subbed out.
I mean,
You
your whole orbital boat is gone, bro.
They're looking out for your health. Yeah, dude, I am so much in agreement with you. Ederson is one of my absolute favorite players on the team. My oldest daughter plays keeper for her club team. So I obviously have a very big soft spot, excuse me, for the keeper and Ederson. We all three of my wife, my daughter, and me all have his kit from this year. So I would be very, very, I'll say it, devastated if he leaves, because we're big fans of him in our household. I truly think that it's more his agents trying to bump up the cost of whatever extension he's due, because that's coming up and he's got 2 years left. So this is prime time for renegotiating new money figures. And yeah, you might get a massive amount of money at Saudi, but he's 30. He's not old. And as a keeper, he's got 10 years left to play. You're not going to Saudi or MLS for a payday when you're 30. You're still in your prime as a keeper. When you're a midfielder, a winger, even defenders at this point, when you're getting to the early 30s, you might start thinking about that. But at the keeper position, it's totally different. Like, you can play at a high level and to your late 30s still. So I'm with you. I don't think
look at Scott Carson. He's still getting contracts, and he's older than fucking dirt. He's a goddamn dinosaur.
You said your wife is a big fan of him too. Mine is too. Ederson must be doing something for the ladies here in America.
Clearly.
It's that Brazilian flair, baby.
It's all the tats, man. He just looks good in that hairstyle. Like, just something about it.
I'm contradicted on this. This is George. You know George, right? Evan?
Yeah.
I'm not. Is it not big enough?
He wants that super extra medium, bro. He wants like that extra medium, Jones.
Dude, all right. Listen, I'll if you want to go super shrinkage, like I'll help you. Okay, we'll put 2 shirt sizes together and figure it out. I don't know what's going on. So Haaland may be looking for a new deal. There's been a lot that has happened just over the last couple of weeks about Haaland maybe potentially leaving for a Spanish club in the next couple of years, and that's even previous to this last couple of weeks. It's kind of something that's been thrown around the table all season long, and even prior to that. What do you think is his motivation to stay, if there is one?
I currently, I would say the motivation is he's our guy. He's the guy we go through to rely on scoring, whether he's in form or not. And Mbappe is going to Madrid.
Right.
He's, we've known for however long. We got the here you go today. I don't know if he'd fall out of form, if he's always going to be that guy at Madrid. And at the end of the day, he was a City fan when he grew up. I mean, it feels like that passion and desire to succeed with City is there. Passionate guy. It feels like more with City than it ever was when he was at Dortmund. I would say that, right now we are as capable of beating Madrid as we've ever been. I mean, I think, obviously they knocked us out But
That was okay, and I'm sorry for all the people that are sitting in here. We were a cunt hair off that fucking both those games. Those were ours to win.
Their players admitted that we were the better team. So it's like,
yeah, Rodrigo said it right out loud.
It came down to PKs.
And personally, I feel like this was the largest gap there ever was between the two teams, that we were that much better. But just being Madrid, they found a way. And I would say, yes, they won Champions League. I think we're the best team in the world. And until some other team proves me wrong that we aren't, I'm going to continue to believe that. And I think you want to stay at the best club in the world.
And again, where's he going? You're not going to PSG.
Right.
Barca can't afford
Barcelona can't afford a fucking pot to piss in right now.
You've already done the Bundesliga thing, so you're not going to Bayern. None of the Italy
certainly not going to Italian football.
Yeah, like that's not it. So like, you're going to go to another Premier League club? Why? When you got everything you could possibly want at Manchester City. So as soon as Mbappe was linked and now officially going to Madrid, that's a wrap. He's not going there. So he's here for the long haul, in my opinion. I'm right there with you, dude. And George said in there, Haaland is staying. Totally agree, brother. He's not going anywhere.
I think there's two sides to this. I think there's people have a goldfish mind in this sport, and the media definitely perpetuates that by putting out certain posts such as, Barca are looking to sign him, Real's looking to sign him, this club's looking to sign him, go on, whatever. It's probably just going to be a part of the narrative, but then it starts swaying people to think that he actually is leaving, which I think people lose a lot of faith in our players very quickly, and is very alarming to me that type of mindset is even available, especially when this sport is, bar none, one of the most loyal mindseted sports out there. I mean, next to American football. I mean, you don't see MLB fans getting all wild out about their teams the way that we do. You don't see, NHL, yes, maybe they're getting there, but the sport's just a little bit different. And if you don't have the loyalty, then we have to question you. The other thing of this is there's so much talk about Pep leaving, and this is also a part of the red media's bullshit, that he wants out when he's clearly said he wants to stay last year after he signed an extension. Do you think if Pep leaves, that would be his indication to say, I'm packing up my ship and I'm heading another direction?
I think it would depend on who comes in. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but I have an idea of who's being groomed to come in.
Oh, someone agrees. Okay, we'll get there. All right. Joe, go on.
I mean, that's a great segue. Evan did it himself. I think we should go right to that because that's one of our next rumor pieces was what's going on. We talked about Bundesliga. We talked about Haaland not going to Bayern. There is somebody who did go to Bayern. It has officially been announced and unveiled as the new manager, and that's our Captain Fantastic himself. Vinny Company is now leaving Burnley and taking his talents out to Bayern and is now their new coach. One, two-part question for both, I guess. One, is this too much too soon for him? Because we've seen past legends of clubs in the Premier League, i.e. Frank Lampard, i.e. Steven Gerrard, not do a great when they've been elevated to the big clubs. And two, is this his grooming for ultimately coming back to Manchester? Evan, you go first.
Yep, guest always first.
I think that if there's a big club to go to and for some team to take a chance on you, Bayern is the obvious choice. They win trophies every year. They dominate the Bundesliga. They're coming off a season where they didn't do that. The bar is already at its lowest. You can't really get lower than a trophyless season. So you either do the same again or he propels you into something and you win something. Mm-hmm. I do think based on his experience, he's kind of being thrown in the deep end. And we'll see if he sinks or swims. In all honesty, I've seen the rumors that Pep had a say in that. I think part of Pep having a say in company or just words with Bayern to get him there has something to do with him wanting company to be his successor at some point. Personally, I think if that's the way it's going to go, I think he's got to stay at least 2 years at Bayern. I think 1 year isn't enough time to tell. So personally, I think that Pep might be staying 2 more years and then be wanting company to take over that position.
I think you're fucking spot on. That's my thought process. Like you actually just manifested all the words that I needed. The only thing that I'll say in this is that I don't know that even 2 years is enough time. I think he needs to be there for 3, maybe 4 seasons. Pep, at this point, we have a lot of old players that are going to be going out, which means a lot of young talent's going to be coming in. I think right in that momentum shift with all these core players that we have right now, them going out and new players coming in is when you bring Vinny in, if that's even on the table. But by you saying that, they've had talks between Pep and Bayern about this happening. This I don't know what else screams grooming period. This is sink or swim for him. He literally has to show his true grit because let's be fair, Burnley did not give him any shot at looking like a star kind of coach. I mean, JJ Watt, kudos to you for going out of your way and picking out one of the best CDMs that ever played the game, and making him your coach and bringing him from. I mean, he was in the Eredivisie, wasn't he? Before he was with Burnley at Anderlecht, and I mean, he showed what he could do there, but that's a very small league. And then you bring him up to the Premier League, he didn't really do quite as well. Can we expect that he can translate W's in the Bundesliga and make this a potential for us? I mean, everything's possible right now. Everything's possible. I think that on the whole, though, this is exactly what you said. This is a grooming period. We'll see what he does.
with Vinny and Burnley in the Premier League, they didn't reinforce their back line enough to give him a fighting chance to get out of that relegation zone. Their problem wasn't scoring goals. They could score just enough to stay up, but they just were conceding so much because that back line was not Premier League quality. So that's not necessarily on him, in my opinion, them getting dropped. I think it was they played good football, they played competitive, and they were open, but they just couldn't keep goals out. So I think that's the biggest issue that they had. And I don't think that's necessarily on him because he didn't have like you said, and both said, he didn't have the players to compete with some of the top, even mid-table teams in the Premier League. You got to have the guy in the top flight divisions. You have to have the players. Doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. You have to have the guys on the pitch that are capable of executing your game plan and win their 1v1 battles. And they didn't have enough of those guys at Burnley, unfortunately.
Sad for Burnley, they're probably going to go down some leagues after this. Like they're not staying in Championship. I don't think
they had a great season and dominated that with company. And then typically, most of the time, once you go back down, you're there for a while and sometimes drop even further. So I hope for their sake that they are able to at least maintain championship level. And it's such a crapshoot in those lower division English leagues. We've seen that with Wrexham.
I was about to just say that.
Dude, I know, baby.
My note. So, here's what I was going to say. Being that both Luton Town and Burnley dropped down this year, Luton Town is quite opposite of Burnley in my mind. Luton Town had a lot of heart and a lot of grit, but they could have probably pressed on. They just didn't have the finances to allow it. Burnley on the other end, but still having good financial and a good financial structure, but also having JJ Watt with that type of sports mentality of a complete competitor who will not settle for fucking losing. that will help them. But I think it will hurt them. I think, though, with that, they are the pathway for Wrexham to come up to the top. Maybe too early to tell, but
they're
I'm just
trending
putting it
right
out there right now.
for
Exactly.
sure. And with Pep's situation, we have him locked up for one more year, depending on what stories you believe that we've seen come out in the past 2 weeks about him leaning or trending one way or the other. Pep has said they're going to revisit this during the season and they'll figure it out from there. That's what I'm going to believe. But it could be exactly what Evan was talking about, where Pep signs another 1 year extension to get through one more year and see, and then we'll revisit it again the year after. And it could be that type of situation where every year his contract's getting ready to come up, they revisit it. He might not want to sign a 10-year deal, or a lifetime type contract, which is what City would probably like him to do. Of course. But it could be a one year deal extension as we go along, and then as Vinny gets his feet wet, then you bring him back. I think that would be a wonderful thing for as long as Vinny's doing a great job, which I'm sure he will because he's Vincent fucking company.
I think Pep likes to flirt. I think Pep likes to flirt with us. I think he'll do this for the next couple of years. He'll sign a 1 year, and then media goes wild. Hey, he's not coming back. Let's prepare post Pep. Oh nope, he signs another extension. Same rinse and repeat for at least 3 seasons. I think this is going to happen. He's not, in all the time that he's been with us and signed an extension, he's not signed anything more than a 2-year extension. He wants to give his option. I feel like he wants to keep his options open, but all the same, I think he likes to play games with us too. That's a conspiracy theorist in me. I don't know, but we're about halfway through. I'm going to hit us with the intermission real quick. Give everybody a second to stretch their legs or do whatever they need to do, and then we'll get into the rest of this. Grab a drink, do your thing, and we'll be right back here in a second. Didn't quite get the intermission change yet. That will happen before the season start.
Who doesn't like watching us win the fucking Champions League, though? So
I mean, I got to keep people nostalgic right now. I have to keep people nostalgic. It's going to be a long summer. Euros are just going to tease us, and then, of course,
Olympics.
all of us are going to be rolling into the preseason here in America. We'll get into that later. But it's going to be a long off season, so I definitely feel like giving people something to cling on to is probably for the best.
Absolutely. Next up that we had, reports were coming out this week that PSG were no longer interested in Bernardo Silva. They just lost a massive part of their club with Mbappe officially joining Madrid. So there's definitely room there over at PSG for somebody to come in. But apparently, if you're believing what's going on in the Twitterverse and in the rumor mill, they are no longer interested in Bernie. So, Ev, Bernie's staying. Where else could he potentially go? It seems like it's going to be 50 million or he stays. So what do you see in that situation with Bernardo? It's a yearly thing for us. Every year we seem to be revisiting this. Is this year he finally stays for good, or is he going somewhere else?
I think at this point he stays. I think it's leaning towards that he just finally settles down. I don't know. I know the rumors are, his wife doesn't like the weather and wants to, go live on a beach in Spain. But he's got a family. He's got a family. He's got a daughter now. I think, seeing our other players raise their families in Manchester, how can you say that you don't want to do that as well? I mean, look at De Bruyne. He's called it his home. Akanji has adapted right away, saying how great the place is for him and his family. And,
especially coming from Switzerland.
Right.
And or Germany.
It feels like he might finally stay. I feel like if PSG is actually backing out, I don't know where else he goes. Madrid don't need him, in all honesty, and Barca can't afford him. Maybe Vinny would try to get him at Bayern again. Does he fit in there? They have a ton of midfielders, a ton of wingers.
Goretzka, right?
Yeah. I mean, Musiala, Goretzka, Gnabry, Koeman, Sane. It feels like he stays. Again, I could be wrong if that is the release in his contract, if that is actually true. Someone could come in, but who else is there? Besides those ones we just named off, and I don't see him going to another Premier League club.
Yeah, and just to top that, there isn't anybody out there right now that is financially stable enough to whip out £50 million for him. It wouldn't make sense to anybody's checkbooks, and more so because of the fact that he does not really fit in anywhere. He has said time and time again, if he is going to hang it up, he would like to finish out his years at Benfica. All fine and good. He knows that he's probably going to take a massive pay cut going there, just to retire. But I feel like he's trying his best probably right now. If they're going to re-sign him to an extension, that he tries to get as much money as he can before he does decide to hang up the boots, because he's getting close.
Very true. And like you guys mentioned, there's not a ready-made place for him to go at this point. And once the game changer really is as soon as you start having kids. Evan, you're almost there, man.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. That's a game changer. That changes your plans. That changes your mentality. You might have been thinking, as Bernie's wife, I want to go live on a beach in Spain. But as soon as you get settled a bit, your kid starts getting ingrained in the culture in a school that you really like. It's a lot harder to uproot and leave. And when you have such a good situation, if you watch any of the City social medias, the stuff on YouTube, the documentaries, any of that stuff, all you see is Bernie almost in the forefront, smiling, happy, enjoying himself with his teammates outside of it, just in the city. So I'm with Ev. I have a hard time at this point. If he was going to go, I felt like it was going to be two or three seasons ago when he was still a little bit younger, and there were other options available to him as far as clubs go. Now there's only one or two, and even with Barca, even if they had the money, they have a ton of wingers and midfielders themselves. So where does he necessarily fit in there? They have Gavi, they have Pedri, they have Gundo, they have Torres, they have all these guys that play his position. So it's not like a ready-made starting role for him there too. He's honestly in the perfect system for the player that he is, playing with Pep, playing at City. So I think he stays too at this point.
Coming from a Chelsea fan, what's your point? What is your point?
That shit happens, Georgie.
We all took that one last breath when that fucking shot happened. I think we all did our job of resenting him for about a week, and then we got the fuck over it. Because we're big boys, and we don't hold on to fucking stupid little shit like that. You do that in other clubs. We don't do that here. We're big boys. We took our L's on the chin, and we moved the fuck on.
The good that has come from Bernie will always outweigh that the PK miss and anything else that negatively has happened, because he's done so much more. The game against Madrid 2 years ago, where he and City absolutely demolished Real Madrid at home at the Etihad. I just mentioned that, and I'm getting goosebumps across my arms and legs right now just thinking about that match. So That
I
sucks
still
that it
think
happened. Go ahead, Ev. Yeah, go ahead, Ev.
I rest on forever until someone shows me otherwise. That first half against Madrid that he played was the best 45 minutes I've ever seen from a player.
See him play. Yep.
Legitimate, my whole arm is fucking filled with goosebumps right now thinking about that and what you just said. So I'm right there with you, bro.
No, that's the true statement you can make. Those are 45 minutes of what the fuck was that? Where's that been? No, I don't really see him leaving either. I want him to stay. I think that's probably what's speaking more than anything is that I want him to stay. Um, but again, if we're going to sit here like we did and break it down, there just aren't any clubs out here that have the bag for him. He's ours until otherwise. I mean, if he doesn't sign an extension this season, going into next season, he's allowed to walk. I mean, and that's going to suck for us because I mean, who wouldn't like getting that 50 million for him? But at the same point in time, like he's given us such a service since he's gotten with us that it's kind of like I'll take that L. Like we got trophies out of this guy, so I can't be too fucking mad.
He's earned the right to go off on his own. So totally agree.
Exactly.
I'd even say after, he scored that goal in the FA semifinal then, and the first thing he did was went for the badge. For me, that was like, this is what I'm playing for. Like, I'm here for you guys. You don't see a lot of players do that. Obviously, you had Foden do it when he scored his first goal and stuff like that. A lot of players don't just go and grab the badge immediately when they score a goal.
Yes. That one. So City and Girona are getting the go-ahead to play in the Champions League next season. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, yeah, just what are your thoughts on that? I say it in that tone because this is literally the first time this has ever fucking happened, where you have a club that owns two teams and they're both in the Champions League. What are your feelings on the City group and what they're doing and this result here?
I mean, I think they're what every ownership group wants to be. You want to take multiple clubs to the top level. In all honesty, I think, the clubs are still, yes, you have the ownership level, but they're still run individually on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They have to both be run a certain way. I could understand to an extent trying to keep two clubs out, but it's not like, it's not like City's loaning out Foden and Bernardo Silva to them for a year to get them into Champions League. We're loaning out, if anything, young developmental players and right. And I think the team earned it. The players earned it.
Yeah.
What reason beyond that would you have to keep them out?
Exactly.
They exactly right. That last point was exactly what I was going to say. Was they earned it on the pitch throughout the entire course of the La Liga season. They were in first place for a good chunk of the season too. They were keeping pace with Barcelona, the Atletico, and Real Madrids of the world. So they absolutely deserve to be in there. I was reading in the report is that UEFA's Financial Control Board want Girona to be operated by a blind trust, is what they're saying, and which is pretty much a panel approved by UEFA to have kind of like insight into what's going on with Girona to make sure that the city ownership group. Yeah, exactly. So as long as there's oversight and there's people looking into it and everybody there is good, then the players and the coaching staff and the training staff that earned it on the pitch should 1000% be allowed to participate in the Champions League. That this is not something that happens very often. Girona is very rarely in this position. So you want to give them every opportunity, even if they get waxed every single game that they're in the Champions League. You want to give them the opportunity to shine on the big stage and let those players who earned the top four finish an opportunity to at least compete, which is what everybody as an athlete, you want that opportunity to You just want the chance to prove yourself. And if it's not good enough, at least you say, I put forth the effort. I was there. We tried, and we just came up short. So I'm very happy that they decided to go this route, so they both get an opportunity to play.
It's still just wild to me. It's wild. I think all of us growing up, Evan, you might be a little bit different. I'm still technically the newbie of the group, the way it stands in the amount of years watched. But it's still wild to me because I never in my wildest imagination would I have thought, we'll just use the Green Bay Packers because you're from Wisconsin. Like, I never thought in my mind that, there would be, a sub-level team, if you will, that gets to the same competition as we do. That's not even fathomable in America.
No.
And so I don't know. It's so crazy to me. The fact that we've got two teams in the highest level championship, the highest level tournament in all of Europe, blows my mind. That's all I got for that.
I'm glad you referenced the Green Bay Packers, because that leads us right into the first time that myself and Evan were able to meet. I actually met Evan in person before I met Colby, because we all three were at Green Bay up in Lambeau Field for the City Bayern match, and shockingly, after 2 years, Evan and I just realized this about a month ago, that we actually met the Friday night before the match in the open training session. We were looking for the entrance to get into the training session, and we were talking. We went in and pretty much stood next to each other the entire training session, talking throughout the time. Little did we know, I didn't know at the time, because I wasn't really in that point logged into the City podcast community in America. I was more just talking general soccer and footy. So I spent a good time talking with Evan at that point. And then the next day is when Colby showed up, and I got to chop it up with him at the pre-match event. So, Evan, I kind of wanted just to hear your overall experience, because you were able to go to the training session the Friday night before the match. I just wanted to get your feelings and thoughts and experience about that Green Bay match against Bayern.
Yeah, so that was my fourth City match ever. I'd gone to a couple preseason ones prior, and that was the first time I got to see a training. And I got there super early. I was sitting in a car and just waiting because I didn't see any City fans. And got out of my car when I saw the first tall guy in a City jersey, and followed him to.
Wonder who that was.
That was me.
I followed him to what we both figured out seemed to be the right place to be standing. And the training was incredible, being able to see the players kind of just mess around. De Bruyne just lobbing balls, or more firing balls into the crowd, not really lobbing them.
Yeah.
And then the match was incredible. I think, like I said, I'd been to 3 other City matches, and just the atmosphere and everything was so far above. And then, seeing Haaland's technically first goal for City, and I got the 2 in 2017. I went to they played Tottenham in Nashville. I got a video of John Stones scoring off a free kick, so I got in the habit of recording free kicks. Happened to just keep the video going to get Haaland's coming a little bit after the free kick as well. So that's a cool video that I probably look back at a little more often than I should.
Dude, I rewatch for us the at that match the rain delays and the lightning delays were. As great as it was watching Man City live for the first time, it was so much fun being out in the concourse and just chanting with all the other City fans. That I watch those back on a regular basis.
Time.
All yeah. That shit was so much fun. Where were you sitting? I can't remember where you were at for the actual match. Were you close to us? We were behind the goal,
Left
where
side of center.
Where the players were exiting. So we got to see like all the players leave
Right side.
Leave the pitch after the game. Where were you at?
Yeah, I think I was behind the same goal then, and I was a little to the left. I was about, I don't know, 10, 15 rows up, somewhere like that.
Okay, so you weren't too far from us then.
But no. You weren't too far. You were right fucking there. You were right fucking there. How did you not? Okay, did you get bombarded by a bunch of like Serbian Bayern fans?
No.
No. We got heckled all match. All match. It was fun, though. It was good benching.
We had like everybody in front of us standing up. So like we were standing up too, and we had people behind us like telling us to sit down, and I was like, no, like I'm not sitting down. Like, screw you.
These are bleachers. These are not seats. These are bleachers where I'm standing.
I was like, I like the guy asked me to sit down, and I turned around and I was like, everyone's standing in front of me. What do you want me to do? Like,
right. I'm gonna stand because I can't see.
Right.
Yeah.
So you should probably stand too. This is a football match in America. Why are you sitting down?
Right. It was so funny too, like hearing him tell his friend like things about City and like all of his facts being wrong, and I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, oh my god, I want to kill myself. Like, this is terrible. Like, I want to turn around and be like, actually, this is what happened. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh my god!
I'm glad. Go ahead, Colby.
That reminds me of a post I saw. And this is kind of a dig at the New York City OSC. Apparently, there was a guy who showed up in a older City shirt that had. Oh, I was wearing it earlier. Not this badge, but the Eagle crest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had that badge on it. Well, apparently somebody at that OSC walked up to him. It was Nasri who he had on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody walked up to him and had the gumption to say, "That's not a real City shirt." Right? Like,
you don't know your history, pal.
Right?
Tell me you're a newbie without telling me you're a newbie.
It kind of sounds like the same thing happening in just a little bit. But I like your story better because if that was me sitting right with you, I'd have been like, Evan, you got to let him have it. This is bullshit. Don't let this guy walk out of here with false information.
You would not have told Evan that. You would have turned around and said shit. You would have.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
That's me.
You wouldn't have been able to keep your mouth closed. Let's be honest.
I'm a city Karen, if you will.
Yes. Evan, I'm so glad you brought up Kevin pinging, i.e., launching and lobbing balls into the stands. Do you remember? Because I told this on our pod before, and I told this to my kids. Towards the end of training, there was a kid in like a Madrid, I think it was a Madrid jersey, like holding it up and like calling out and yelling at the players from across the pitch. And Kevin hit a spot on accurate ball and drilled that kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Oh my dude. Because it was across the damn pitch. Like the kid was in, like, his family were like, Real Madrid, hey Kevin, and Kevin was, because he was doing that all training. He was just like lobbing balls into the stands, and they took turns doing that from across the pitch. He put a laser from across the pitch 60 yards and drilled the kid with the ball. That was phenomenal. It was so much,
you little prick.
Right? It was like Evan said, it was so cool just to see them up close and personal like that, going through just an hour-long training session with Pep and everybody else. And they were literally like right in front of us. It was so dope. I wish we could have gotten the insiders passes at the time that got to go like onto the field and like see the players as they were leaving. I think that was more of a VIP package that clearly Evan and I didn't have the funds for at the time. So
no, it was super cool. I mean, like I said, so the first one I went to was 2014. It was in Minnesota against Olympiacos. It was a half full stadium. And just to see in 8 years, how much progression they made, a full stadium chanting their names and stuff like that. And you know, I say it's the coolest experience, and I'll tell some personal stories because I think they're cool from that Nashville
Please
time
do.
too.
Yeah.
So in Nashville, so after the game, Sterling actually forgot his shin pads. He came back out and started signing autographs for everybody. So I got a jersey on the wall over this way with Sterling's signature on. So that's super cool. But the morning of the match, I wanted to find the players' hotels to see where they were. And Fernandinho tweeted a happy birthday to his kid with the hotel location. And I was like, big mistake. I'm going to go find it. I jump in the hotel. We got like these official like city guys, I think like almost security. And they're like, what floor? And I'm like, crap, I don't know. I just picked a random number. We go up one floor. Vincent Company steps in the elevator. And I about lost it.
I
he-
shit my panties when you said that. Holy hell.
He's so huge and intimidating in person. I have like blurry pictures of the back of his head because of like I was so intimidated by him and the security guys to like actually complete a sentence to say something. But I was like, I just rode in an elevator with Vincent Company. Like, coolest thing ever. Like, it was just incredible.
Got smacked. What happened, Joe? You left
I'm
us.
here. I'm here.
Did your long legs kick the camera out of the plug?
That's exactly what happened. It's literally plugged in, so I don't know what's going on. Let me
Here, hold on. I'm gonna bring you in and bring you back. Oh my god, dude, that's an epic story. How often do you get to stand within 3 feet of somebody like that?
Looking back, it's one of my biggest regrets that I didn't say something, knowing how nice of a guy he is, that he probably would have said, yeah, we can take a picture or get an autograph or something, but
Right.
it's still a cool story.
Yeah. Well, and again, when you get in those moments, I've had those moments before. Not anybody football related, America, or world football related. Um, I was in 4th grade. I'm a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan from Pittsburgh. Everybody on here knows that at this point, I feel like. 4th grade, I went to a basketball camp at St. Vincent's, which is in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, which is where the Steelers have their off-season. And so happens the week that I'm there, they're having their off-season training. So during our free times, we would go down and interact with the players and stuff like that. I had one player that I was completely starstruck about in the '90s. His name was Greg Lloyd. He's a linebacker. I saw him after we got out of practice. None of my friends whom we came out of practice with saw him. I saw him. Turn around, and I booked it. I saw this massive dude with a black bandana on it, said 95 all over it, which was his number. And I was like, that's Greg Lloyd. I got to go get his autograph now. I won't see him again. I got to get it now. I ran so goddamn fast for a 4th grader that I didn't know how to stop. And I ran into said Greg Lloyd, to which he said, was it worth it? I said, I don't know. He said, you can go to the back of the line. So I waited while all 85 of my basketball camp mates went through line getting an autograph. He waited for me, though. He waited for me. And he said, I'm glad you waited. It's really cool to see how excited you were to see me. And then he gave me his autograph and sent me off. That was starstruck moment.
Dude,
anyways.
all I could think of when you were telling that story was you were Luis Mendoza and Mighty Ducks 2.
Oh, straight up, I was.
And the cans were Greg Lloyd.
Dude, my ice skates were not working that day.
I got super excited when Evan was talking about seeing Vincent Company in person.
Yeah.
Because I have a Vinny signed card that my boy Ryan Stewart, who's been in the comments a few times, that got me and took care of me.
Where's that motherfucker at?
I don't know. He's busy being a dad, probably. The other signed card I have is an Eddie card, so that's why I'm also like be devastated if he decides to leave, because I absolutely love that dude too. So great stories, Ev. That was
going on
perfect.
signed cards. I've started to collect signed cards for City, and
What do you got?
I have a goal of collecting the entire treble squad and some former legends, but Haaland and Foden are a little expensive. I got this signed Foden jersey right there. I bought that the day before the Champions League final because I was like, they're going to win and this price is going to skyrocket. So I got a good deal on that. And then I got a Laporte right here.
Nice.
And let's see what else. I got a Rico Lewis.
Nice.
Dude. Hell yeah.
And then I just got this Gundogan one last week.
With a
Dude,
piece of the
you better
jersey,
put that
right?
Put that in a vault.
Right? Exactly. So we kind of touched on recent events. We touched on our Green Bay experiences. Let's look back on this season and Ev, give us your kind of overall feelings on the season. Was it successful in your eyes? We came away with one trophy out of a potential of three. Well, one of our ones that started this season. We got know the Club World Cup and the Super Cup. But was this a successful season in your eyes, given that we didn't win the Champions League, we didn't win the FA Cup, we were able to four-peat. So give us your overall feelings on this season.
I'd say we probably could have done better, but I mean, we probably could, other than last season, do better every year. I think of recent, Pep kind of had a stranglehold on the Carabao Cup and kind of let that go and gave up on that. I think for lack of wanting to play extra matches that don't mean, for a trophy that really doesn't mean that much. But I'd say it's successful. I mean, people were freaking out in that little period we had in November and December. And I've noticed since I've started doing this podcast, I'm like overly optimistic, and I actually like it, that I just never give up hope on City until we're truly out of something. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it's a little bit of a dark cloud. Losing the FA Cup final makes it a little darker just because of who we lost to. I think at the end of the day, that's what pissed me off more than anything. Yep. But I've been saying it all year. The four-peat is something that's never been done. It takes 4 years to get back to this point. Yeah. And, outside of Madrid, who else does back-to-back Champions Leagues? Not many teams, so it's, I'd say overall, it was a successful season. Could have been better, yes, but yeah, I'd say successful. And, looking at the amount of matches we played, the amount of breaks we get, which isn't a ton, and looking to be even less next season, I would say that, for the amount that we put on the players, I think it was a fairly successful season.
Good take. Absolutely good take.
Absolutely. Yep. Totally agree.
I have to echo everything you said there. Especially the FA Cup part, none of us in our lifetimes would like to see United take a cup away from us. Unfortunately, I'm going to give credit where credit's due, even though this is the team I hate the most. I hate them more than Baltimore Ravens, and that's saying something. You know what I mean. I have to say that we looked defeated in the first 20 minutes of that match. Like, the season was already over for us. They were all beach-brained. They were waiting to sit their asses in the sand somewhere. I think that in order for you to have such an accomplishment as a four-peat, I mean, that's great. But to do back-to-back trebles, that's asking so much. And we came close. We did our duty. I mean, we're not close. We didn't come. We only got 33% of that equation. But I don't know. I can't. I'm with you, dude. I cannot write this off as a unsuccessful season. I just can't. It feels wrong if I did that. Joe, what do you think?
100% a successful season. When you accomplish something that's never been done before in the history of the Premier League, that's a successful season. Was it as successful as it possibly could have been? No. However, in the Champions League, we bowed out to the eventual champions, and we were the better team over the course of those 2 matches when we played them. In the beautiful game, the better team does not always win because it's a one-off or sometimes a home and away situation. In American sports, you have series where there's 7 games, best of 7. In that situation, usually the better team ends up winning. And the beautiful game, it's not like that. It's a one-off or, like I said, an aggregate score over two legs. And in that situation, anything could fucking happen. And that's exactly what we saw. It came down to PKs. And in that situation against Madrid, they were better at that in the PKs than we were at the time.
I'm going back to something George said because now it triggered me. Bernie, you don't bury them down the fucking middle. You don't do it. I'm done.
Hey man, sometimes you just gotta let it out, bro. It's all good. So I 100%. It's a successful season. We 4-peated. That's never been done before. Fergie's United, never done that before. And to call it unsuccessful because we weren't able to replicate a treble is just, if any City fan truly believes that, that's just some elitist and unachieved. Like, that's just so far and away out of reality. Bullshit. Like, come on. Exactly. Like, no, we're not going to do that. So, successful season. Let's transition to our 4 new signings. We got Doku, Kovacic, Gvardiol, and Nunez. Let's each of us, we'll start with Evan, give each of them a grade on their debut season. Let's start with Gvardiol. Evan, how was his first season?
I'm gonna say an 8. And the reason I don't go higher is I feel like, although it wasn't much of a struggle, I think he struggled a little bit just adapting at the beginning of the season. Wasn't too much. And to no fault of his own, didn't get a ton of time at the beginning of the year. So, getting that full season look at him wasn't really there. But, I mean, he straight up won us matches at the end of the year. And that was absolutely off the chart. And I'm excited to see where he goes because that was not his peak. And I don't think he's even close to his peak yet.
Colby, what you got?
I'm going to go ahead and give this man an A+ for this season, especially being a first-year signing. I think a lot of us are of the mindset, the ones that are right-brained, not wrong-brained, right-brained, about players, and the fact that it usually takes 1 season to get fully acclimated to Manchester City life and Pep's way of doing business. He showed out better, I think, than the other 3, or of all 4 signings. I think he showed out the best. He progressed slowly, and I'll echo what Evan said. It was very slow-paced early on in the season, but to that I say with what I started with, that was to be expected because it usually, as I said, takes about a year for anybody to get accustomed to what's going on at City. Are there places in time where he did have starts that I wish that he would have been more of his RB Leipzig self? Yeah, but we were talking about 2 different types of ball at that point, and I just can't ask for more than what he did this season. So I'll give him an A. What do you say, Joe?
I'm going to go right in between both of you because if you average that out, that's Ev gave him like a B. You gave him an A+. I'm going to go like A-. 90%, 9 out of 10. For some of the reasons you mentioned, it took him a little while to get his feet wet. Maybe Pep trusted Ake and other defenders a little bit more than him out the gate. But once he got once the light switched and the light bulb turned, you could see what a player he really was and why we signed him for that large of a fee. So for me, highly successful season, very difficult position because you're playing. He played almost exclusively as a left back, and he played for his national team, for Croatia, and for Leipzig as a left-sided center back the entire time. So he was in a role that was not totally comfortable. He's not probably comfortable with and familiar with, because especially in a Pep system where he was being asked to cover so much ground going forward, but also make sure that he was getting back and covering his defensive responsibilities too at the same time. So for me, I'll give him a solid A- for a debut season. So I'm right in between you two in that situation. Let's go with his Croatian counterpart in Mateo Kovacic. Evan, what did you see from his first season? Give us a grade on him.
I think I go higher than most. If I was gonna give him a rating out of 10, I honestly go 10. And the reason for that is, off the bat, from the beginning in the Community Shield, I still remember this, that he just seemed like he was that guy who could move the ball from our defense into our attack. And it seemed that at times we lacked that in the middle of the season when we had that quote unquote rough stretch. And it felt like he was the control we needed without really being flashy in the process. And I think towards the end of the season, Pep looked at him a little bit more just as that guy to be solid for us when we needed him, and just kind of step into the lineup and do his job without, he didn't need the flash of a Doku or anything like that, or Foden. He just showed up, did his job, and a lot of people probably wouldn't notice it at the end of the day. But I honestly, I said this to my brother, because with being a Chelsea fan, that we stole him for the fee that we got, because I think he was worth a lot more than what we paid.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not going to give Kova a 10 of 10. I'm going to give him a fair grade, considering his body of work. But I want to preface it with this. A lot of people, when we signed Kovacic, they were thinking in their head that he was going to be potentially a like-for-like swap for Gundogan. I think a lot of people were not happy from the beginning of the season with him, and that he wasn't exactly like Mr. Whippy. I was probably one of those people a time or two. I understood what Kovacic brought to the midfield for us. He brought a lot more stability, a lot more control, and a lot more distribution than I thought most people thought he was doing or worth. I'm going to give him a 9 because there's a certain je ne sais quoi about him that grew on me through the season. And that was because of, again, like I said, better leadership. He understood where to be, how to be, and what his role was, especially in the bigger matches between FA Cup and also Champions League, but even more specifically with Champions League. I don't think I could have asked for a better replacement for Gundo. I mean, there just isn't anybody else like him. There just really isn't. So to have somebody like Kovacic be able to anchor the middle the way he did, especially progressively throughout the season, I couldn't ask for a better signing.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think I would go overall like an 8.5 out of 10. If you would have asked me this question in like October, I probably would have given you like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
But because he finished so strong, and became one of the first guys that Pep was putting out there in the team sheet in big matches, because of his ability to partner Rodri and allow him more freedom. Well, we've talked about this multiple times, but I'll echo it again. Having a back four, so having two center backs and Walker and Gavardio out wide, and then having Kova there too, allowed Rodri so much more license to move forward. And play with more freedom, because when Kova wasn't there and Stones was partnering him or Akanji was partnering him, there was still a little bit more vulnerability in the back because there wasn't somebody there. But with those 4 defensive players there and Kova, Rodri could just play his game and do wherever he needed. So Kova, at the end of the season, really understood that role of Rodri's going to go do his thing, I'm going to hold. He understood, if I'm going to go, Rodri's going to hold and stay. And that partnership really allowed us to gain control of the midfield in every match that we were playing in. So at the beginning of the season, pretty low grade for me for Kova. But as the season went along, he became so good in what we were asking him to do. So for me, overall, probably 8.5 out of 10. So not too far from what you guys are at, but very, very happy with that signing, because we were never going to replace Gundo with one player, and certainly not with Kova, because he's not a goal scorer. Gundo made those late runs into the box. Kova, that's not his game, and that's okay. Right. We just had other players do that, i.e. Phil Foden, which is why his goals numbers went up so much. So we got the 2 Croatians. Let's go over to the Portuguese and Mateus Nunes. Let's rate him and how his first season went. Ev, we'll start with you as usual as the guest.
I'm gonna go 6.5, and it feels a little harsh, but I saw flashes of what his ability is. He obviously didn't get the time. I think he seemed kind of off page with the rest of the players a lot of times when he was out there, whether it was not making the right run or, not anticipating the correct run from a different player. Individually, I think he did very well when he was on the ball, if he was taking someone on or something like that. But I think he needs a little more time. I think he needs to get used to his teammates a little bit more, and that'll kind of get him fully adapted.
I think that for Nunes coming into our side from Wolves, being that him and Pedro Neto were really the only attacking force on that team for the time that he was there, I felt that when he came into our side, there was something in his mind that told him he had to prove something, and he had to use the same type of tactics that he was using at Wolves in order to garner the attention of Pep and make him more of a regular fixture in our 11. And I think it failed miserably. I think that, like Evan said, there were flashes of him, and I even said it through the season. There were flashes of him that I absolutely loved, that were reminiscent of things that he did at Wolves that made me like him. How it translated to us and its ability to score or create opportunities. One of the things that Evan said was his off-ball movement. It was not good. It just was not good. Especially for somebody who is in the central attack, or the way that Pep was putting it in was more centrally based. When he was making those runs in individually, yes, he shined. He looked really good, and those are the things that I think Pep saw in him. But how does somebody like him really fit into a side where you have to be not so selfish? So for that, I'm on the same grade, 6.5. I'll give him like a C for this year.
Yep, C was exactly where I was going. I was going to go with 7. Hard C. A lot of things you like. You can see why they signed him. There's tools there to build upon. But to be fair to him, going down the season in the stretch run, is Pep going to pick him to give him some minutes, or is he going to give that central midfield role to somebody like Kevin or Phil or Bernie or Rodri or Kova? There's just a lot of
big games. You have to pick the big games at that point to determine who's going to be where. If you're going to put, it's okay if you put him up against a lower 5 team.
Yep.
Away, I'm okay with that. But I don't know. Go.
And that's no, you're good. No, that's exactly why you bring him in, because he was brought in to be a depth player. He was never going to be somebody you were expecting to challenge for a starting role on a regular basis. You're bringing him in to give those guys a blow and maintain the level of play that you come to expect from the starting 11. You have your guys that you trust, but you also have guys that can come in and not see such a drop off in level of play that you're not able to maintain your dominance against the mid and lower table teams. So
Right.
in that perspective, I think he did fine, but there's so much room for growth and improvement. And I think within an additional season in off season under Pep, and to fully acclimate himself with the rest of the guys, I think he'll definitely improve as we go along. So for me, with you guys, D plus C, somewhere around that range, 6.5, 7, I think is fair for him. And then our last one that we have is our Belgian flashy winger, Mr. Jeremy Doku, who had a very, very up and down season. Started off hot, real hot out the gate, had a kind of a lull, and then really picked it up late. So Evan, give us a rating on Mr. Doku.
Yeah, I'll go 8 on him as well. The talent is there. It's definitely there. I mean, his speed, how quick he moves past a player from a standing start is, I've never seen someone move that fast. I said it. I said it on my podcast a few weeks ago. And this is wild to say. I'm not saying in any way that he's better than Mbappe, but his movement with the ball to make a move past a player, I think he's the fastest and the quickest in the world with it.
Fastest, yes.
And
Mbappe's movement is a lot cleaner than what Doku has.
Right. And that's just it. It's very raw. It's a little out of control at times, it feels like. Yeah. And I think once he can put that together, put his ball playing ability into the middle a little bit better, kind of figure out where to put it and how to cross it in. It feels like he's able to put a cross in, but there's no one there at the end of it, kind of. But that, and he's very close on getting that top corner curled shot figured out when he cuts inside from the left. If he can put all that together, he's going to be absolutely unstoppable.
Echoing again, the one thing that defeated me about Doku this season, and I saw it not just in the last match, the FA Cup match, but I saw it for many matches throughout the seasons where he had time. His breakability from a defender, I don't think he understands it. I don't think he understands how fast he really is. I think there's also in saying that, where I've said before on this podcast, that he has a bit of a Louis Mendoza, if you know that reference, complex. He doesn't know how to stop. He'll get himself so buried down to the byline that he can't make anything happen. So then we have to bring it back up and reset, which is fine and good as long as you're moving the ball. But when you're trying to make the cross in, when you're trying to make the cut in for your own goal, I saw a lot of selfish, sloppy play. But again, I always, as I said before, put into perspective the fact that this is his first season under Pep, and he didn't even know what Doku could be in his side yet. I think he had an acute understanding, but not to the magnitude of this is how I want him to perform. I think you started seeing that later in the last few games of the season, especially as he was able to move over from the 90 in the box more centrally instead of playing down to the wing and even to the byline. That's the ball I want to see him play. I would like to see him and Jack play a little bit more similarly, and like maybe take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that from each other, and mix it up and see what it does, because I feel like they can learn from each other and make each other better. On an overall grade for Doku this season, I'm going to give him a 7.25. I see the potential in him. I see the drastic change of pace that he brings from a Jack Grealish or even a Phil Foden. I mean, Phil's still fast. He's one of the best people to turn on the ball in the fucking league. He has some of the most ridiculously explosive speed from a stop that I've seen next to Doku, especially for a white boy. Um, um, but yeah, I would probably say 7.25 for him. He has so much upside, and I can't wait to see what he does going forward next season.
I think for me, echoing that 8, I think is right on the money for me too with Dokes, because he did so well at the beginning and then bookended that with some really top quality performances towards the end as a super sub. If you're just grading him based on potential, I think you're looking at a 10 out of 10 at this point, because that dude, the sky is the limit, especially with playing with the players that he has around him right now and the coaching staff that he has. This, once he fully grasps and understands how we want to play in the intricacies of Pep's system, he's going to be an absolute monster on that left wing for us. So I think for me, solid 8. Room to grow, room to improve. Really, really good stuff we were able to see from him throughout most of the season. Just need to have that consistency, because there were some really high peaks. The lows weren't great because he wasn't really impacting things as a starter or a sub for a period. But when you saw him motivated and in form, we were a different team with him out there.
Yeah.
So really excited to see what we have, because going forward, especially with Yoshko and Dokes, because they're both 21. It's their first season under Pep, and there's so much room for growth with this team in general, because overall we're a really young team for a team that's been around for a long time, and for players who have been here for an extended period of time. We have it's not ending anytime soon, boys. The Man City.
I mean, we've definitely gotten younger over the last couple of seasons. So yeah.
I would even say too that this summer I think Doku's going to learn in the Euros under De Bruyne. I feel like De Bruyne kind of has that control and attention of the Belgian team, and I think he's going to kind of continue to groom Doku into what City/Pep needs from him.
Well, let's just be happy that fucking Kev decided that he wanted to play Euros this year, because that was near off the table.
Yep, for a period, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So last thing on this season, looking back, I'd like to get your guys' top 3 shortlist players of the season. We know Phil is probably in there for all of us because he won it. But who makes your top 3 Man City player of the years? Because that was a talking point towards the end of the season. For Rodri, didn't make it in some circles for Premier League Player of the Year, made it for others. So which 3 players for you, Ev, stood out the most over the course of the season?
Foden, obviously. And I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit of Rodri as well.
Right.
A third one, I feel like, again, I'm a little biased here just because I'm a big fan of his, but I think our best defender from the year, I'm going to go with Akanji. I think he was solid. He makes mistakes. I think the biggest issue is when he makes mistakes, they're very noticeable, whereas other players make mistakes that you might not fully notice, and you could put the blame on maybe someone else. When Akanji makes a mistake, you know that he made a mistake. But I think for the most part, he was our most consistent performer defensively. And really, I feel like it takes a little bit of the conversation. He stayed healthy the entire year. He was always available. So I would put those 3 as my top 3.
So let's shift this, Colby.
Yeah, good.
Rodri and Foden, duh, right?
Yeah, 1, 2.
Give us your third.
So I see Evan's perspective on Akanji, especially with the noticeability of his mess ups. But I would also argue that Ruben Diaz is equally as important and equally as guilty in that realm. So for that and consistency base, I will not pick him. Because of what I'm looking at and the way that I'm picking this, I mean, essentially we've all basically picked a forward, a midfielder, and a defender. So I'm going to go with that same suit, and I'm going to say Gvardiol because he's shown the most promise. He's shown the most amount of diversity as a defender. Moreover, the fact that he is playing out of his natural position and he's being that effective, especially in those last 8 regular season games. He was incredibly effective, and he was what everybody wanted. He has been touted by fans everywhere as the Rolls Royce that we bought this offseason, and I'll have to echo that. So I'm going to have to go with he is my third.
Not a bad choice either. I don't think either one of you are off on the two that you chose.
We have so many goddamn good players. It's really hard to pick one sometimes. You really just gotta have to pick the one that really like highlighted your year. But like, we have to literally look not even just at a starting 11 or a figurative starting 11 that most people would put on. But the fact of the matter is that we have such a deep bench that you really can't pick one player or the other because you know what each ability is. And you know what they bring to the team and what they provide. It's just how you can't look at this squad even from the outside looking in and say, God damn it. Every fucking position is just covered and then some.
Couldn't agree more. I'm probably going to go another midfielder, I think. I'm listening to what you guys are saying. I have a hard time leaving off Haaland, who's our leading goal scorer for the season, even with the fact that he missed 2.5 months of the season.
Sophomore slump, baby.
I think my third is probably Bernie, even with the Champions League mishap with the PK. When it came down to a big match and we needed someone out there for consistency and availability, Bernie was there. He was always in the match, giving out maximal effort, and his worth isn't necessarily in goal contributions, because we see Phil and Haaland, they're top 6, top 7 in Premier League in goal contributions across the whole board. But what the things Bernie does, you can't always measure on a stat sheet with goals or assists.
No, not really.
So for me, I think I'm going Bernie as my third in the short list of top players. Even though Haaland scored an absurd amount of goals again, it didn't reach the levels of his first season. I think I got to go Bernie for me. Joshko was there for sure. I think Akanji, I would agree. Akanji was our most consistent defender from the start of the season to the end.
Yeah.
I think Diaz
100%.
Diaz is still our best defender when he's fully engaged, but we didn't see that throughout most of the season.
This whole season,
he was rocky throughout the whole season. Ake, I think, was super underrated. I think he was very consistent, but he had stretches where he was out due to injury. So I would echo the Akanji piece defender wise, and Joshko. He was phenomenal throughout the last half of the season. I think one of our best players, bar none. So I think I'm going Bernie on that one for me, for my third on the short list. Whew.
Damn.
A lot of good
comments.
Exactly. We have like 3 more questions that I had related to City, but maybe we break the City talk up with a quick fun question situation for both of you. Evan, are you a night owl or are you an early bird? Are you someone who likes to wake up early or stay up late?
I stay up late. I'm with a child on the way trying to flip that, and it usually does not work. So I think I'm going to have to learn, but
it's coming.
As of now, night owl.
Got it. Colby?
I think. Go ahead. You were gonna say?
I said I think I know based on this the times that you text me, but I'm gonna let you answer for yourself.
No, I'm gonna first off start by saying this is an age-based question, and I think it really determines where you are in your life. I was a night owl for most of my adult life, and that was due to the fact the life that I was living. Um, as it stands now, post having a child and being a little bit more responsible in my late 30s, I am definitely in early bird. This is the only night of the week that I stay up past 11 o'clock for obvious reasons.
Got podcast shit to do, man.
I got shit to do.
I'm one of the odd ones that are both. I'm a night owl, but I wake up
Homeboy can
early.
sleep on the weekends. Don't let him fool you.
That's the only. When I get the opportunity to sleep in because I don't have any fucking soccer in the morning to get up to and go do. Like this morning, I slept till like 10 a.m. That's not a normal occurrence. Usually, I'm up early and whatnot. So I'm definitely a night owl because Ev, you'll learn this as the kids get a little older, or the kid gets a little older, and once they start sleeping through the night, that like
in their own fucking bed.
That like 9 o'clock to like midnight hour, like those 3 hours when they're actually asleep and will stay asleep, that's your only time for yourself the entire day. So you're going to want to take advantage of those 3 hours of like, hey, I can sit because baby sleep, got the monitor going. I can hear them if they're crying, but they're going to be asleep probably for 5-6 hours now. This is the only time I get to sit and watch something besides Bluey or Blue's Clues or Barney or whatever the hell it might be.
You don't know what it'll be by the time his kid gets old enough.
So
might be something crazy.
I'm usually up late, and then during the week, at least for sure, I'm up early about like 6 a.m. So I'm both. Next one I got is
hold on.
With one more thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I'm on vacation, so those 2 weeks when I'll be following City around, I stay up as late as possible and I get up as early as possible, and the drinks are flowing the entire time. When I'm on vacation, it is full vacation mode. Like I am awake and not sober as much as possible.
I have to say though that in all fairness, me waking up early is not a direct result of my body or internal clock. It's the fact that I have an east-facing bedroom.
Sunlight.
Hello. Especially in the summer. Bro, it's wintertime's different. Wintertime, when it doesn't get like light out till about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm good. I can probably sleep till about 9:30 if I really wanted to with blackout curtains. But even with blackout curtains, my whole room gets lit up first in the morning, and I'm nope, can't sleep. I need darkness.
Up, let's go. Yep.
Literally, I probably should be a nocturnal creature because I can see in the dark. It's weird.
Learn things every day, Betty. You learn things every day. That's why I like sleeping in the basement. I prefer to be in the basement and sleep because it stays dark down that bitch. Exactly. Nice and dark. Food question: Mexican food or Italian food? Which one you go for?
Mexican.
Both is not an option.
I enjoy my spicy food.
Yes. Colby, we've talked about this before. You just recently realized that you're more English than Italian than you originally thought. I'm assuming you're going to go Italian food.
No. So, yeah, for those of you that don't know, I grew up most of my life being told that I was heavily weighted Italian. I got my genealogy report back, and it turns out that I'm like 63% British. You would think that, though, growing up Italian with an Italian grandmother who did the whole bit, even as far as during Easter season doing the 7 fishes sauce. If you don't know what that is, be happy you don't. I'm going to have to go with authentic Mexican because let's be clear.
Big difference.
The further north and east you go, the less authentic it gets. Because it's not usually a Mexican person making it. It's usually a Salvadorian person making it. And they like to throw their flair into it. And then they also like to spin Tex-Mex into it. And you're just like, what the fuck is this? But on the whole, for complexity of flavors, Italian's very simple. If you know Italian, I was a cook for a very long time. If you understand the profile of most Italian dishes, they are no more than 5 ingredients. The good ones, the really good ones. Mexican dishes, on the other hand, the amount of spices and the preciseness of said spices that go into said dishes, especially from the Oaxaca region. That's my favorite region of Mexican food is Oaxaca. Because they have the complexity and deep flavors of their food. So I'm going to go Mexican.
3 for 3. Absolutely Mexican food. Love it.
Plus margaritas.
I mean, hell yes. You said that shit. Absolutely. Favorite season or time of the year, Evan?
I don't get a lot of it, but I go summer.
True.
Summers,
2 seasons, bro.
Summers in Wisconsin are like 75 or winter, and mostly winter. But yes, when I get summer, I enjoy summer.
Hell yeah.
They get like the proper like British summer. We get the like, I don't want to sound wrong in saying this, but like we get slave Indian summer. It's hot as fuck for a really long time, and you sweat your nuts off, and it's not fun, and it's uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't like living in the Mid-Atlantic. I would give anything to move back north. Or to the desert, which is completely opposite. But let me just tell everybody that humidity and dryness make the difference. It can be 110 in Sun Valley and 90 degrees here with 100% humidity, and I'm going to go to the Sun Valley, immediately. It's unbearable. Favorite season, being that I am a Mid-Atlantener, I love fall. That's my favorite time. It's when everything kicks off. Temperatures are great. The colors are beautiful. We got 2 forms of football going on. I'm a pig of shit in fall.
I am right there with you. Anytime I can rock shorts with a hoodie, I'm in business.
Bang on.
That's the most comfortable I can possibly be, is in some either athletic shorts or a nice pair of khaki shorts and a hoodie, and super comfortable. That and there's not a whole lot of rain over here in the Mid-Atlantic in the fall. Usually the rain is the spring.
Sometimes.
True. Get it more in the springtime, because I'm comparing the two, like spring and fall, kind of similar temperature wise for a period of time, but there's more rain typically for me up in Maryland in the springtime. In the fall.
Yeah, you live more towards the coast than I do, so
yeah.
No.
So a little less rain. Temperature is usually perfect. I'm not getting this crazy, because it's in the spring in fucking Maryland for sure. It's you wake up and sometimes it's like 55 degrees in the morning, and then you get to midday and it's 85 degrees.
85. Yep.
And I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to wear during the day. So at least in the fall, it's some consistency. I'm like, it's probably going to be between like 50 and 70 for the most part. And I can adjust with that, which is the hoodie and sweats and shorts weather. So I'm here for fall for sure. And Evan, I grew up in Maine, so I totally understand like the 2 season.
That's pretty close. Yeah.
I totally understand the 2 season vibe, because in Maine, it's winter from end of September until April.
Yep.
And then
sometimes May.
and then you get like a short period of summer in like July and a little bit of August, and then the rest of it's like wintertime again. So yep. I get it for sure, bro.
You're talking about hoodies and shorts. I've literally been rocking that still all this week, and we're
entering June now. All year. That all year.
So jealous. Oh, I'm so jealous. Now okay, noted. if I want to wear hoodies and shorts all season or most of the year, because I'm one of those weird white dudes that's going to wear shorts even when it's like 30 degrees outside. So
I like my sweatsuits too much. I like them way too much.
Evan, how excited are you about to be becoming a dad here in a couple of months?
Oh my God! Hold on. He's excited to be a dad. I'm excited to be a dad. So let's do this.
I mean, how could I not be excited? We got a gender reveal coming up in the next couple of months here, so we'll figure that out. And of course, that'll be football themed.
I'm about to say,
why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be?
Right.
Precisely.
So, but yeah, I'm super excited, and just I'm hoping it doesn't fall on a City match day when it comes. But if I'm gonna miss a match, obviously
you
be worth
make
it.
everybody watch. Make everybody watch, and then we're like, oh, I get it now. Especially if it's a win.
I'm so glad you're going to have a reveal party and you're going to find out.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it, finding out the day of and when the baby comes. I could never be that dude. Never be that dude. So I'm glad you're finding out ahead of time.
Or know the whole time and not tell anybody. And then, by the way, like, and your whole registry is just fucked because everybody bought a bunch of girl shit and you had a boy.
Awesome. So excited.
There's so many fun nightmares to the scenario, but I know that Evan, this is going to be a good one for you, especially the mutuality that you have with your partner of watching the game. It's becoming more and more popular to do so. I know that Steph watches with Joe and the girls. My significant other is starting to come on. She's more involved with my kid playing, rightfully so. But she's starting to get into the mix. But I think that's so cool that you get to have that and incorporate your love together of a sport and this child coming to the world. That's super cool.
It's kind of funny because when we first started dating, I told her one of the first things I told her, I was like, there's a Manchester City and there's a Manchester United. I support City. Do not get it wrong.
Right.
Immediately. This is very important.
Letters are the opposite end of each other in the alphabet. Just remember that. I had a quick question for all of this. So there's a speculation that our away shirt is going to be a redo of the 99 shirt. What's something that you would personally bring back from 1999 if given the option? Anything.
I don't know if I have an answer. I was 3 years old.
I set myself up for that. Well, do you at least like miss having your parents do shit for you at that point in your life?
The lack of responsibility.
I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit, I guess. I don't know, man.
That's a great answer.
And no, but really though, like if you could pick something from 1999, the end of the 90s, that even because the 90s are popular again. Our generation of growing up is popular to the younger generation now. What's something like, I don't know, like Clear Pepsi or fucking Surge or something like that you would totally bring back from the 90s?
How about, I don't know if this counts, but how about a lack of social media? Because it's like completely like
great answer.
Fucked. It's just I when I open up Twitter and stuff like that, half the stuff I see, I'm just like, how can the world be this stupid? And like, was it always this stupid and people just kept the thoughts to themselves because they didn't have a platform?
That's just it.
That's a fantastic
on the head, dude. It's
a lack of social media.
There are still people, even in our landscape of podcasting and social media, that really shouldn't be here. It just shouldn't be here. No, that's a fantastic answer. Joe, what was something you would bring back from 1999?
The OG Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
They already did it.
No.
Yeah, they did.
I'm aware. I don't want that one.
You wouldn't want an updated version of 1 and 2 on PS5?
I want the OG joint where the graphics were pixelated and
everything was a block.
Yes, exactly. I want to go back to the first time that I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and got that like total vibe of listening to that sound.
Soundtrack.
Yes. I want my first experience of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater back again and trying to collect letters in the different skate park and all that jazz back on the OG PlayStation, not the new with the fancy graphics where I can see everything. I want the real life OG experience.
Listen, as somebody who just, I didn't purchase one for myself. It was for my child, for his birthday. Can I tell you how stupid the new one is to set up? Like you can't just take it out of the box and lay it on its side, or else it's all like half. You know what I mean? About to fall off the fucking shelf.
It's not just one plug either into the wall and ready to go.
Well, no, it's still the same. It's still the same HDMI power outlet. That's all you have to do. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is this little bracket that I have to put up in the middle of it, like it's a fucking suppository, just to get it to stand up. That there were so many sexual references that I put in that last 5 words of that statement. It's I feel you, but yeah. If there's one thing that I could bring back from the 90s, I don't really know why this keeps popping out in my head, but if I could bring back 1999 Victoria Beckham, I think I'd be the happiest man alive.
Also,
I had
very good answer.
Such a fucking hard on for her. I'm sorry, Bex, if you're listening to this ever. I had it for your wife before you did, bro.
I'm pretty sure he's heard that before from many people. So I don't think he's
Bro, he didn't even know who she was when she came and saw him. Apparently, Sporty and her came to a match in it was like 96 or 97, the United match. And they went to the locker room, and apparently somebody had talked to them, and they were like, who they asked who they were there for, and apparently Victoria wasn't exactly forthcoming about it, but she was like, I'm here to see a specific star player. I want him. And I was, why not me? I need a Mario Balotelli shirt right now. Why not me?
There you go. Super Mario.
Hold on. That all gets a fucking... Where's that?
Stupid.
What a time to be alive back in the 90s, bro. Crazy stuff.
It was.
So from the past, let's transform into the future, and let's talk about where we go from here. What players do we see potentially leaving this summer, and any of the rumored players that we've heard linked to City so far that we think would be a good fit? So give me somebody or player or two that you think is probably going to leave or you would like to see leave potentially, and give me somebody that you'd like to see City sign.
I don't want to say I don't like saying that our players should leave, but if I was to pick one to leave, I think I would have to say Kyle Walker. And it's mostly because of his on-field play just wasn't his normal level. Not that it was, I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. I don't think it was the normal level we see from him. Weirdly, I think he was better in attack than defense, but that's not the type of player he is. So that's weird. And I just feel like his off the field stuff is getting too much.
Heavy. Yeah.
He's got the podcast now, and I'm like, he had the comment about the Euros meaning more than the treble, and it doesn't sit right with me. and it's
I get having pride for your country and it being bigger than your club level, but I'm sorry. There's few times, if ever. Well, no, there's only a few times that this type of trophy winning has ever been had, and I would honestly, that's terrible to hear that he honestly thinks that getting a Euro Cup is bigger than getting the treble. That's
and
a
when
little
you're our
bothersome.
captain too, like you
Yeah,
can't say that. Like
no, you can't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't say that. um, shit. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like, I think the Bruno Guimaraes thing has already fucking been capped. Um, I don't really see. I, I, I don't know, man. The only person that I honestly could see just out of wanting the bag, which even still I have a problem saying for this specific player, is Eddie. Everybody else fits in the system and can stay. I mean, we've already debunked that Bernie's not going to go anywhere. Haaland might sign another deal. Foden's he's stuck with us forever. Kev's getting old. He's going to stay though. Doku's locked in for a minute. Um, Rodri's good to go. All of our defenders good to go. I mean, I just I don't see where anybody from the outside fits in, and I don't see why anybody leaving would be good for us. At the same time, you know what I mean? If there's a player that I had to say that I would like to have, um, I mean, this is a far stretch and a half, and doesn't fit into our system, and there's already the spot being held. But like Oshiman, that would be the only one that I would be like, I would bring him in just for shits and giggles. I don't know anybody else out there that fits Pep's system quite right yet, unless there's somebody that's already played for him. Which, funny enough, there's been talks about Gundogan wanting to back out of his Barcelona contract and come back. That would be cool, but we know it's not realistic. So,
Right. Yeah,
I
I
am
have a
very high on Jamal Musiala coming in.
I would love him. Absolutely.
I
I can still see it happening.
I don't either. I watched a lot of Bayern Munich, not this year, the year before, just because I'm a big fan of Sane, and I was like, why not? And I had time, but so I'm a big fan of his. I don't see it happening. I've always preferred him to Bellingham when there was those rumors. I don't see it happening, but I see him as the one guy I can look at as a long-term De Bruyne replacement.
Makes sense.
I love that guy.
I really thought that McAtee would be the one developing to kind of be more of the central anchor in the midfield, and that's looking to prove different. So
I hope he
yeah.
stays. I hope he
stays too, but
I don't think he's at our level, so I don't know if it's going to happen. But I like him a lot, but I just don't know if he's quite developed as quickly as we hoped.
He's done good for Sheffield, and I won't give him anything less than that. He's done really good for them. But yeah, he just, for the caliber of player that we need to fill in the spot of a like Kevin De Bruyne, it's not him. It's just not him.
I would agree with that for sure. I have a hard time finding somebody as I'm scrolling the players list on City's website. Anybody that I think really is definitely going to go as far as high profile goes. I think Sergio Gomez is probably on his way out on a loan or a permanent deal somewhere else just for
Sporting Lisbon
time.
has been linked to him recently.
But that's not like an impact. So for somebody who plays kind of regularly for us that might find opportunities elsewhere, I have the only one I could maybe see might be John Stones, but I don't think
where does he go
anywhere.
Where does he go?
That's the problem. Is I could see Vinny trying to find someone that he's worked with in the past to come anchor the system that he wants to play. But
Yeah, but when
Bayern
you
already
got like
has.
Mattis the Licht in
That's
that
exactly my
lineup and
point.
shit, like,
And they just spend big money on Kim. They are in Upamecano. They have already plenty of central defenders. And I don't think John is going to go to another. He's not going nowhere else in our league. And to be fair, Italian and French football is a step down. So I don't see him going to La Liga either. But like, I'd have a hard time finding anybody outgoing that we really need to, or not need, but would want to go at this point. Besides minor moves, I would really like to see, in the kind of the vein that Evan mentioned, because I think Rico's future is not at right back. I think his future is elsewhere within our
it's
club.
definitely midfield.
I especially, and then thinking about how high, even if Kyle stays and say he goes, I think Frimpong from Leverkusen would be a fantastic get because of the positions that Kyle took offensively this year. Frimpong would be so good in those spots. And
Is he on buyback?
I don't believe so. But he has played with us before. He came up through our system. He knows City's academy. He knows most of the players that have come up through that system. So I think he would be the number one get because Kyle will eventually go, whether it's this season or maybe next. And I don't think Rico's future is at right back as a starter. I think he can fill in from time to time, but his best position is probably not in that spot. So I think we would need to find someone that can play Kyle's spot. We have a couple of guys that can play outside back on the left side with Ake and Gavardiol at this point. But I do think maybe fullback in general might be a spot we might look to reinforce with some younger developmental talent to come through.
Well, Joe, you had one last segment of the show before I wrap this thing out.
I had one. Did we talk about this live about where we're going as far as summer series and where Evan's going, or did we just?
Oh no, we completely overpassed this. Let's put that right in right now.
So the Snobby Boys will be in Columbus and North Carolina. The Columbus one is Colby and Joe only. We will be living it up and enjoying our time there. Just us. In North Carolina, we're still going to be doing city stuff, but we're bringing our families along the ride for that one. Evan, where is Cityzens Fancast going to be at?
So I and my wife will be in North Carolina, Orlando, and Columbus, and we'll be there for a couple days. So if
he went all four.
if anyone's around, wants to see me or doesn't, I don't care. Wants to come find me, let me know. I'll be around.
Samesies. I think for the Columbus one, being that most of the U.S. podcasters will be going to that one, it's Ohio Stadium. It's against Chelsea. Makes all the sense. I think we're all going to be getting together at some point, whether that be pre, mid, or post match, to do a group picture and all that stuff. So we hope that you get in with that. We'll also be doing a little bit of a after hours podcast after the match. So if you would like to come hang out and talk with us in the same room instead of in a different time zone, you're more than welcome to come over and hang out. We have jacuzzi, which is awesome. We got a couple bedrooms, so
nice. Will it be
nice
a live
big
stream
room
from a jacuzzi?
I mean,
why not?
Just listen. Don't give me ideas. Don't give me ideas, because I will fucking do it.
Right?
Yeah. This is going to be an epic summer. I one of the things that I would like to make mention on, that I heard actually through our guest who's coming next weekend, Big Steve. One of the things that I think a lot of us need to anticipate with this U.S. tour is we will not be seeing a lot of our big names playing, which will be unfortunate to those that are making the trek from wherever they are to see this team. But all in the same, you're getting to see bright young talent coming up through our academy. which you can't replace that. I mean, you're seeing the future on your own backyard. I can't think of a better time this could happen. Obviously, Euros is going to fuck that for a lot of people. It is what it is. We hope that if by stroke of luck for some players, Haaland or Akanji or any of the lower Euro teams, they get knocked out and be able to play, so we can see them play, would be very nice. But also, we know how strenuous this season has been, not only from the previous season going into this one, but now Euros plus a preseason in the U.S., then going right into regular season work. It's going to be very strenuous. So, be really happy to see all the players that do come out, but also understanding of why some of them are not there.
The matches themselves are a draw, but the event around the match and the things that they got going on pre and post match are also exciting. They're going to have legends there ahead of time for pre-match activities and the whole experience for all three of us who have been to a summer tour event for City. It's not necessarily just the game; it's all the stuff going around outside of the stadium. Getting to connect with other City fans, it's going to be a fantastic experience. And you can see City is making a concerted effort to grow the brand over here. They just opened the store in New York City.
Biggest club in the U.S. now.
That part too. So they are making a concerted effort to recognize that the City fans in the U.S. are important, and they're going to keep growing this thing on this side of the pond. So prepare for a very fun summer. So to wrap up the episode, I have 8 pick your poison players for the two of you guys. I'm not going to answer these ones. This is just you two picking between 2 players at their peak. So not just their whole career, at their best. You're going to pick which player you would take, okay? So first, and Evan, you're always going to go first. Like we mentioned earlier, guest goes first. You get first pick. You might, like I said before, you might pick the same player. That's okay. First matchup, Kevin De Bruyne or David Silva. Which one you taking?
Fuck you.
At their peak.
I lean towards De Bruyne, and there's a bias there that I'll explain. So you mentioned your heritage with English and Italian. So I personally know that my family came over however many generations ago, 2 or 3/4 of them straight from Belgium. So I know that for a fact. I'm 75% Belgian. I support the Belgian national team over the U.S. national team. On the Belgianness, I'm going to go Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay. Good choice.
The Belgianness. I love that.
To be fair, I'm being honest here with everybody. Call me whatever you want. I don't give a shit anymore. Because I was not blessed enough and given the eyesight that I needed for this game at a proper time, I did not get to see David Silva play. I did however, take my time in recent months and really dive into the way that he played for this club. And gives me the tingles inside. But to be fair to that, because of where I came in to this team, I will always pick Kevin De Bruyne first. He caught my eye when I wasn't really paying attention to the club when I first started watching. I spent a lot of time watching the Bundesliga, specifically Wolfsburg, which, funny enough, is where he came from. When I saw him play, the first few times that I saw him play were his last games with Aguero, which, again, happy birthday to Kun. Seeing them work together, there was something that I I saw so many things in Kev that I saw myself, and people that I knew around me, that were just like very good leaders. And he, again, I'm going to use this French slang or French term, je ne sais quoi. He had that about him, and I just couldn't take my eyes off him. And I didn't really have the same feeling about David when I was watching him collectively with the team. So yeah, Kev.
To be fair, there is no wrong answer. We're picking between Citizens
Oh no, I know.
and City
Oh, I
players.
know.
So whatever you choose is totally fine. We're gonna stick in that midfield area, but we're gonna play a little more defensive, and we're gonna go Fernandinho or Rodri.
I'm going to go Rodri, and there's probably a recency bias in there, and the fact that he won us a Champions League and all that. I love Fernandinho, but I have to go Rodri.
And I'm gonna have to echo it because the versatility of Fernandinho was refreshing, especially watching in my first season him being with us, him being pushed back to the defensive line, and him being able to control that spot. That impressed me a lot. However, full body of work, from what I've seen, Rodri wins it, bar none. There just hasn't been a better center defensive mid in this league, let alone this sport, for quite some time. So Rodri definitely gets that vote.
He holds his own defensively and does all that work, but he adds the added dimension of goals,
right,
and big moments. So you gotta go Rodri there. Last midfielder one here, Yaya Toure or Gundo at their peak.
I'm gonna go Toure. I think he was at his best. He was just an unstoppable animal. I don't have a better word for it. His size and physicality and control with that size and physicality is just incredible. And a free kick specialist is just off the charts.
Well, coming from the guy who did not watch that era, it's probably going to be contradictory to everything that I've just said previously because I didn't. However, prior to me really getting into City, he's one of the players that I really took to because Kyle said, you need to watch this guy. So I did. And I watched a lot of them. So I'm going to go. Yep.
That dude, when he was on, unplayable is the word to describe him because of speed, power, strength, technical ability. When he was on, that's the piece that is important for him. But when he was on, nobody could stop him. If he wanted to win a game, he would go win the game for you. In the City documentaries, it's funny. Yaya was talking about that and talking to Vinny about, don't worry, I'm going to win. I'll win us the game. You've done your job. I'll do my job now.
All or nothing, right?
Yeah. And Vinny's like, yeah, that's great and all, but a bunch of us are going to have to put in a shift for you because we know you're not going to run.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
But that guy.
That guy.
Keeping in mind peak here, and we just saw this player's peak this season. Phil Foden, Raheem Sterling. Raz had some peak moments, I will say that. I think the answer is, but Phil or peak Raz?
I can't go against Foden. There's no part of me that can go against Foden.
Good man. Good man. That is the correct answer. I said there were no wrong answers.
There is a right answer.
Correct. Yes.
Dude,
to contradict myself, yes, that was the correct answer.
Bar none in a way, it's Foden. I mean, yes, Raz had his times with us. I believe it was the 2019 season. He had a couple of great takeaway goals. But moving past that, there was a digression of a player happening. Whereas Phil came through our system, he learned everything that he knows and subscribes to for Pep, and the way that, well, not just Pep. I mean, there was Pellegrini and Mancini, but he's learned his style of play and who he is as a player through Pep. There's just yeah, Foden is that guy. He is that guy, and I really hope that he gets.
Motherfucking star boy.
Really hope he gets his chance under Southgate this year because he fucking deserves it. If they don't win that fucking tournament, I'm gonna be so goddamn mad. So mad. That's way off topic though.
This is true. We're going to transition to the defensive side of the ball. I think we all know who our best overall defender was. So I left Vinny out of it. There's nobody that I would think recently that could compare with him. So I went with more steady partnerships for our top center backs in this one. And the choice is Laporte or Nathan Ake.
I think Laporte was very important for us when we needed him in some title runs. I just think overall contribution, I'm going to give the nod to Ake. I feel like altogether, there was a time where Laporte was a left back for us, and I think Ake excelled there a little bit more. I think since he's kind of burst onto the scene last season, he's been a little more consistent, as Laporte had a little inconsistent times in his full time at City. Yeah.
I mean, he went to a Saudi club, dude. I don't really have a lot of respect for that, and it's not because it's Saudi. It's because the connotation of money that goes behind it. When I see a player go for the bag and not for the trophy, I wonder about their morals a little bit, if you will. Existential shit aside, I'm with Evan. His body of work not as consistent as Ake's. Ake has, since he's been with us, since we got him from Bournemouth, has literally season to season gotten better, if not at one attribute, several from the previous season. I remember, I think it was the 93-20 year. I was not in favor of Ake at all. So this would have been 20 or 21-22. I was not in favor of him at all. I thought he was off the pace. I thought that some of his technical skills as a defender really needed sharpening. Through the season, they got sharper. And then going into the next season, they got even sharper. One of the things that I thought that he was terrible at is recovery speed. Because you look at people like Ruben Diaz and Kyle Walker, their track back speed is tremendous. I didn't feel that Ake at that point in that season actually had it to be able to do what was needed in given moments when it was dire. But he has shown himself over the last two seasons, again, where his track back ability, his speed, his recovery speed went through the fucking roof. So I'm going to have to give it to Ake.
I even look at, he had the option after that first season to leave.
Yeah.
And chose to stay because he wanted to fight for a position. And I look at the mentality behind that and the buying into the system, Pep system, City system, to buy in and want to earn your spot. And he fully did.
Yeah. Big facts.
Very, very reminiscent of Zinchenko before he left for Arsenal, because he had a couple of seasons in a row where he could have left on loan or permanent. And it's like, nope, I'm staying. I love it here. And I want to fight for my spot. And became a very integral part of what we were doing. So anytime a player wants to stay and says, I want to be a part of what you guys are doing and fight, got to respect that.
Yeah.
Sticking on the defensive side of the ball at the right back position, pretty much our two main stalwarts since 2009, Pablo Zabaleta or Kyle Walker. Which one you got?
If I was judging it on heart, I would go Zabaleta. On ability, I'm going to go Kyle Walker.
Yeah. Again, a player that I was not fortunate enough to witness play at his prime with our club. I'm going to have to just give this away to Kyle. His speed. I mean, it's his speed.
Fast as fuck, boy! I'm fast as fuck, boy!
You're being compared to track stars. You know what I mean? There's not any players in any league that have that type of ability that he has. You know, being able to track down a player like Vinny Jr., I just don't know how you can't give more props to him. And that's not to say that, and I can't recall it because I never saw it. Where potentially it was Messi versus Zabaleta. That that probably would have been a really great matchup. Did it happen? I don't know. But that would be the only player in that period of time that I could think that would be an outduel to Zabaleta. I think that he's probably a lot more of a clinical type of back. I think he has smarts about him. I know that all of us, I know that Joe and I got to meet him firsthand at the pre-match thing in Green Bay. Just the aura I get from him, I can see him being a very good leader type over their leadership ability. I feel like Zaba has a little bit better than Kyle, and this kind of goes back to your point earlier, Evan, about Kyle's off the field issues. You didn't have that from Pablo Zabaleta, so I don't. This is a toss up for me. I know how good Zaba was. I know how good Kyle is. But because of what I've seen firsthand, I'm going to go ahead and pick Kyle.
Good discussion. I like that. That pace is something you cannot.
No.
And I think Kyle is probably in the conversation of top 3 right backs all time in the Premier League. Zaba's not quite there, I don't think, just because of the body of work that Kyle has put in. I would probably give it to him too. As much as I love Pablo, I love looking at my scarf that's got his signature on it from that time in the pre-match game, pre-match stuff from the Lambeau. But Kyle, it's a different breed. We're gonna switch gears to the more offensive piece of the game. Jack Grealish, Leroy Sané.
Sané was one of my favorite players before he came to City, and he still is. I love Jack and what he does. I think he fits our system right now a lot better than Sané would, and I think that's kind of why Sané left. Also, his issues with not getting into the German national team and all that garbage.
Yeah, but which weird.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. But I'm gonna give the slight nod on peak to Sané. I feel like his peak, in a weird way, was kind of at City. It doesn't really seem like he's hit that full level since he got injured that last year.
Yeah.
And if you look at his stats, his goals and assists per minute, even when he was in and out of the squad, not getting full time, I could be wrong on this, but I believe his goal contributions per minute rivaled or were potentially better than De Bruyne's even. So I'm going to go with Sané on that one.
you know, Sonny's been in the league he's been playing for a minute. So is Jack. There are certain things I think we all have gotten angry over with Jack over the last couple of seasons, being that he has established himself in this league through Aston Villa. This season in particular, he did not really seem, especially towards the end, to be the Jack that we all wish that he could be. Because of overall body of work with City and even going into Bayern Munich, I'm going to have to give the nod also to Leroy Sané. His ability on the ball, I feel, is a little bit better than Jack's.
Got to go back to pace. You can't teach it. And in FIFA, it's an absolute game breaker. And on the real, and there's a reason for that, because on the pitch, Leroy, that front three of Leroy, Sergio, and Raz, when they were all three at their peak back in like 17, 18-ish time, was some of the most fun. And then with Kevin and David Silva running the midfield, that was some fun City football to watch. And Leroy showed up when it mattered most. I still remember him showing out against Liverpool, and his ability not only to score goals but also help out his teammates and score and assist. I'd love me some Leroy Sané. Always will. And it's his birthday, so we're going to wrap up with a striker conversation between the City's all-time leading goal scorer and the guy who currently holds the record for most goals scored in a season, Haaland and Sergio.
It's going to take a couple more years before I can pick Haaland over Sergio. I seeing his entire progression throughout City, being able to watch his entire time at City, it was incredible. Games where it felt like, we didn't have a chance, and he single-handedly, gave us wins and gave us a chance. I look back to the group stage match against Bayern Munich where he scored a hat trick when we were down. And it's things like that where it's like, City weren't fully on the map yet, and we just took down the mighty Bayern Munich basically single-handedly through one player. And it's just his ability to create for himself, I think, was better than Haaland's. And
much better.
It's there's just goals of his that I look back at and I'm just like, how is that even possible? The one basically from the corner flag against Liverpool, ones like that are just goals I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Not to mention even the 93-20, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, that's peak anything. Like, every time I watch that, I feel like I orgasmed. I'm not gonna lie. It's so cathartic. It's just like, I don't know. My answer is exactly his.
It's finished at Sunderland. Manchester United have done all they can. That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero!
I figured y'all needed that. So that's
Goosebumps again, bro. Goosebumps again. We'll see what happens with Haaland down the stretch, but I think the biggest difference at this point for them too, for sure, is kind of what you guys mentioned. In big moments, Sergio,
he's got to create chances for himself, dude.
And Sergio has those signature moments where he takes the game against other big clubs and wins. Because Haaland has won games for us multiple times. We know this. But we haven't seen him do that in a final, in a semi, where he's played again, or even against a Liverpool or a Arsenal in big moments and won us a game. Sergio's done that many times, and until Haaland has a few more years under his belt, like Evan mentioned, striker questions will always be Sergio. Even though Haaland put it together a season last year like we've never seen before in the Premier League, city-wise, it's still the Coon.
The trajectory for Erling Haaland is there. 100%. We're still talking, though, even though this is a good comparison, we're still talking about two entirely different strikers. You're talking
That
about
part, too.
somebody who has a big body over the center versus somebody who can exploit the box in any position he's in. So it's a stretch, but also understandable, in my opinion. I just you're talking about somebody who's 6'4" and somebody who's 5'8". That's a lot of room. That's a lot of room. All right, guys.
Me and Joe standing next to each other.
Right? Exactly. Well, shit. I remember the first time I stood next to Joe at Lambeau. I saw him walking up. I was like, "You motherfucking Jolly Green Giant." God bless. So Joe, do you have any more questions?
That's all I had as questions wise. I wanted Evan to give an opportunity for him to shout out where you could find him, where his merch store is, all that jazz. So Ev, if you want to give everybody who's listening, those who are rewatching for us, where they can find you, where they can get your dope ass merch, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Citizens Fancast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, trying to get I'm hoping to live stream my episodes at some point. Not sure when that's going to happen. I'm at some points technology. I'm going to not say the word because
got you.
Technology and me don't work together, and apparently neither do words. But yeah, the merch, you can find the link for that through my Instagram and Twitter bio, and it's there. I think that's everything. Episodes I record on Mondays. If I start live streaming at some point, it'll be Monday nights, but usually the episodes release Tuesday mornings beyond that. Mm-hmm. And I don't exactly know what the plan is, but I'm hoping to do some cool stuff just content-wise throughout the U.S. tour, just because, I'm kind of a city groupie for 2 weeks. So
right.
Yeah.
Guys, just so you know, all of Evan's information is, if you're watching here on YouTube, is actually in the bio of this episode. You can click on his website. You can also click on his merch store. I also gave you his handle to check him out on all the social medias that he said is there. Please make sure that you do. Evan's been a ride or die with us since the beginning, and we really appreciate your patronage and love supporting you along the way. One of the things that we want to put out here to the city, especially the U.S. city podcast community, is unity and coming together and making this more of a collective effort. I understand that each one of us want to do our own thing. That's all fine and good, but we're all coming under the same badge to do this. So a little bit more togetherness, a little bit more reciprocity across all platforms with everybody. It will really help each one of us out. Evan, you're good at doing that, so I don't have to fucking school you on that shit.
Yeah, I always got your back, and I know you guys always got mine. And
exactly.
you just do a great show here, and I appreciate you guys having me on because you guys are awesome. I usually don't tune in live, but I make sure I listen every single week. So
yep, same thing. I have dedicated days to everybody. Like I have my Tuesdays, like I do Hollywood Kipax. I'll pick another one. You're on my Wednesday when you finally post. So yeah, I love all the content that we're putting out here in the U.S. I know that our big brothers across the pond are really proud of what's going on over here, which will segue me into saying next week, part of our big June that Evan's been a part of, we're going to be bringing on Big
Kicking
Steve.
us off.
We're going to be bringing on Big Steve. He's going to be having a little bit of a back and forth Q&A with us. So questions about Americans, questions about fan base from our side, and just getting to bond finally with him. Really excited about that. Also really excited about bringing on Blue Tone. He's been He's been riding pretty hard for us. I know he has been for you. I'm pretty sure he has been for you.
Yeah, he kind of when I got into Twitter more, he was very big with support for me. So I big shout out to him and support that he's given me.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. All the guys that we're making contact with over in Manchester and the UK in general has been, bar none, some of the best experiences we've had. We love talking with our US brethren, but it's even more exciting for us getting the chance to have these opportunities to speak with these guys that have been there their whole life. Unfortunately for us, I think we're all on the same bandwagon. I think if we would have been more introduced to it here in the United States, and it been more in our faces, we would have been fans a long, long time ago. And honestly, we can't help where we were born. So, it is what it is. We're here now, and we're going to do everything in our fucking power to make sure that this is the best team in the land and all the world. So with that, I know there's one last thing I'm gonna say. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bells for all things that are coming up with the Snobby Boys, and make sure that you do it for Citizen Fancasts too, not just us. Don't be greedy. Don't be biased. Love us all. Red carpet. The red carpet is still out for fans. If you guys want to come on and you want to talk with us about our beloved city, please feel free to hit us up at snobbyboyspodcast@gmail.com and get booked for a time with us over this holiday. Or excuse me, I'm saying holiday because my kid's gonna be out of school, his kid's gonna be out of school, so it's kind of like a holiday, but it's not. It's summer break. So over the summer break, if you'd like to talk with us, and need to go into the next season, again, please give us an email, snobbyboyspodcast@gmail.com, and we will get something set up with you. Evan, again, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. Make sure that all of you guys out there, hit our merch store, bonfire.com/store/snobby-store. I want to apologize to everybody that's probably been trying to get the 15% off and it didn't work. That's my fault. I did not change the date. However, I will be changing the date this evening to the end of summer. So if you would like to make a purchase at our merch store, you will get 15% off on all purchases aside from the 4P and the If You Hate Manchester United, clap your hand shirt. Till next week, I'm going to leave you with, because it is the man's birthday.